Welcome, and thank you for joining us for another edition of Live by Heart Today with your hosts, Dawn Spiegelberg and Wendy R. Wolf. Our show begins now. Streaming from Retro Earth Studio and brought to you by
Learn to play jazz piano like a pro, by a pro, with Jazz Piano Pro Essentials at jazzpianopro.com.
and wearehistorically.com, conscious human apparel. It's time for the next episode of Live by Heart
Today.
Hello and welcome to the Live by Heart Today, show number 41. This is a show designed to help you navigate change, uncertainty, and the new world we found ourselves in. We'll talk a little bit about science, a little bit about how our body works, a little bit about intuition, and we'll talk a lot about transformation. I'm Dawn Spiegelberg, a posture therapist and coherence coach. We're focusing on living agreements. Today's theme, power of commitment. And with me for today's Heart to Heart is my co-host, Wendy R. Wolf, professional transformation facilitator. Welcome, Wendy.
Hey, Dawn. Thanks for playing around this really incredible subject. Very, very powerful to help create the life and the world that we want to live in.
Yeah, you said it. Creating the world and the life we want to live with in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, when we were talking about what to name the show, I was a big fan of like a line in the sand. It's like, it really helps me sometimes to put a line in the sand. Before this, I was doing this. After this, I'm doing it like this, and that's it. And like to really declare it, really stand for it. It helps me do hard things. Yeah, like my eating plan, which is a little challenging for different reasons, but the reason I'm doing it is because it's so much healthier for me. My body's so much happier, and I've been known to fall on and off of it. But when I get back on, like the only thing that gets me back on, because I'm just like, we'll see how today goes. How that goes. It goes, I'm going to have, something that isn't on the plan, right? It's just how it is. But if I'm just like, today, that's it. Today is the start. And because that first day is hard. It's hard. And the first week is kind of hard. But after that, the habit and the momentum kick in. And so me having that line and then the momentum happens, and then having the line and having the commitment helps, because it's like, oh, what's the big deal if I just have a little? Well, the big deal is that I'm off.
Yes.
And then when I'm off, oh, well, I might as well have some nuts. I might as well have some beans, and then I have to do the line again. So that's my experience.
That's beautiful, because we're describing building a muscle. And the power of commitment is that it helps us to build that muscle, because we are often faced with days when someone is offering us chocolate. And if we've made a commitment that we're not going to eat it, then it's easier to say no thank you when you have a strong muscle, when you have the strong will to do so. And this is a really good conversation to have, because sometimes we're strong around other people, but we're not strong by ourselves. And
Yes.
sometimes we're strong by ourselves, but we're not strong around other people. Mm-hmm. So when we declare our commitments, when we make commitments, the power of the commitment is we can make a commitment before men and God. We can make a commitment to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And there's benefit to to
It
that.
really is. And when push comes to shove, it really helps. I'm thinking about a time. I remember a show a few weeks ago where you were talking about you were just not drinking alcohol when you were younger, and how someone would offer it to you, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
They would offer it every time, and you were, no, no, thank you, no, thank you, right? And that's great. Like, and for me, that's usually how I do it, right? Oh, da, da, da. But there was this one time with a very close friend of mine. He would offer me a substance that was not healthy for me, and I knew it. I tried it once. It was not something I wanted to do, but it was very, very, very tempting. It's like it really did what I wanted it to do, which was not healthy. And I was like that with him. He's like, "Would you like some?" All the time. "Would you like some? Would you like some?" "No, no, 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 no." And then there came a day where I felt really vulnerable, and I felt like really, really I wanted to. And so it was a matter. I was gonna roll down that hill, or I was gonna fight. Right? Like those were the
Mm.
choices it felt like for me. And so so funny. I'm like in his backyard. I'm so mad, and I'm like walking around. I'm like, rah, right, like, rah, and
Mm.
and I'm like, look, I've told you like how many times that this is not healthy for me, and you keep offering it to me, and there will come a day where I'm vulnerable, and I I'm not going to be able to say no. So will you please never ask me again? And he's like, okay. Right. And it just like, it really made a difference. Right. It's just like, I
Yes.
just don't, because like most of the time I was like, no, 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 no. But I could see there could be a day where it's like, give it to me. And so that's a declaration, and it's a commitment. It's like, no.
Yes.
And it felt like I needed to do that pushback. So it could look like either way, but sometimes it looks like rawr.
And that is the power of your will standing up for the choice and commitment that you made.
Yeah.
That's beautiful because you knew he was going to offer, because that's what he kept doing. And you also knew what your mind might do.
Yeah.
Your mind might relinquish, your mind might justify.
Yeah.
And that's an important distinction to make, because we are not our thoughts. And yet, how many people let thoughts be the driver of their life? And how often are those thoughts not beneficial to us? Like,
Yeah.
oh, I shouldn't have done that. That's a terrible thing to do. How could I have done such a thing? And that negative spiral that is thinking.
Yeah.
We can berate ourselves with our thoughts, and our thoughts can be wonderful and bring joy. So when it comes to commitment,
Yeah.
it's a declaration, and you don't go back on your word. And sometimes standing up for ourselves and standing up for that commitment in specific ways is really important.
Yes. Yes, and we will get pushback. Any change we make, Harriet Lerner, back in the 80s, she wrote a series of books that were really great, like The Dance of Anger, The Dance of Intimacy, etc. She's
Mm-mm.
a psychologist. And one of her big things is that you make a change and you will get pushback. You will get it from within, you'll get it from your world, you'll get it from the people close to you. So expect it. This is what's going to happen. They're going to push back. So what are you going to do about it? Who are you going to be
Oh,
about it?
yeah, make a plan.
Yeah, and that's part of what happened with my friend. I feel like when I did that, it was like the picture is so funny. It's what's that thing where there's the high mountains, and if a drop of water goes on this side, it goes to the Pacific, and if it's this side, it goes to the Atlantic. The you know what I mean? It was like a real, what's that word? But everybody will know what I mean. It's like it's like it's a yes, the continental divide. The continental divide, right? It's like I really chose for the water to keep going this way.
Mm.
And for me, it's a lot of it. You were saying about thoughts. For me, I notice my thoughts are very often at the whim of my feelings.
Yes.
And I mean, I can argue. I'm a good arguer. I mean, not like fighting, but like I can logic this way or that way, you just give me justification. I could do that. So like, it's like, I knew there would come a day where I was too vulnerable, that I was too needy, that I felt like, oh, I've come along. I can handle that. I need a little, rest or whatever. Right. But I was just like, no, the water is going to the Pacific.
Good for you.
Yeah. And I feel like that really helps us to stand up for ourselves, to be self-responsible. And I feel bringing some of that chutzpah to our choices really makes a difference. We
It
put a
does.
stake in the sand.
Yes, stake in the sand.
Mm-hmm.
I have a great example of when I was eating chocolate. It was only dark chocolate and the super dark chocolate, right? The stuff that's not sweet. And so I stopped eating it, except my husband still eats it. So we moved it out of the refrigerator and he said, oh, well, we're not really eating this chocolate because he doesn't eat a whole lot of it. Let's move it. So he moved it. Well, I was out in a cupboard in the pantry looking for something and I found where he moved it to. Okay, so now I know where it is.
Yeah.
And I was able to not eat it. Okay. And then I did a little more exercise than normal for a couple days in a row because we went out on hiking and my body is wanting something and my brain says, the chocolate's in the cupboard. You know where it is. Yes. And it's the worst thing because your body is saying eat it and your mind is justifying it. And all you have to do is go to the pantry and have a little bit. And what do you decide? Do you stick to your commitment or do you just have a little bit? Well, then the next day, it's just a little more. And then the next day, it could be just a little more. Or are you able to say, no?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And the things we can say no to, we can have a little bit. And the things that we can't need a stronger line. That's what I found.
Mm-hmm.
I live with a guy. He can just he likes to have one bite. He likes to open everything. That's what he can't stop. He has to open everything, right? And he has one bite. It's like, if it was me, it would be gone. Right? Right. Which is why it's not a good thing for me to eat it. Right. But he can just have one bite and he doesn't have to have lines about those things. He needs lines about other things. And so part of the reason I wanted to have this conversation now, we wanted to have it now, is because some of us made resolutions at the turn of the year.
Yeah.
And, it takes 3 weeks to make a habit, these things. How long does it take to make a habit?
Right. They used to say 3 weeks. Now they say it's 3 months. It depends on so many things. And commitment is one of the big things it depends on.
Yes. Yes. But it really helps. By the third week, I have a momentum that I didn't have in the third hour.
Yes.
And it really helps. So we were talking about like having this conversation now to like, if whatever choices we've made or changes we've chosen, like, can we just keep saying hello to them? And maybe we fall off the horse. I talk about this all the time. I'm constantly falling off the horse and getting back on. That's the key. Yes, about the food plan, but more importantly about my own soul development and my own healing and my own showing up for people as a force. These are the things I fall off the horse and I get back on. And that's the important part. Can we get up? And so people who made resolutions at the turn of the year, it doesn't really matter what has happened between now and then. Can we, if we've off the horse, get back on the horse?
Yeah.
And make some systems that maybe can help us go in the direction that we choose.
Mm-hmm. So back at the end of December, I noticed a lot of challenges people were offering. Let's do a eating challenge. Let's do a health challenge. Let's write all the challenges. And I was like, whoa, I'm being bombarded with challenges. And when I think about challenges and resolutions, it's always like adding something to your already busy schedule. It's adding another to do. It's adding. And so I decided to offer people an unchallenge. where you got rid of the stuff that didn't serve you. Instead of piling more on, you unload, you release things
Mhm.
and see how you are then.
Mhm.
And that's a part of deciding. A decision, decide, we've talked about this before, it means to
Mhm.
cut off any other option.
Yes.
And when you cut off all the other options, you're digging the trench. So the water goes through the trench and it doesn't go anywhere else. You're
Mhm.
deciding the water is going down one side of the mountain into the Pacific.
Yes.
And there is no other option. And we are most successful when we assure, when we make the steps and take the steps necessary to assure that outcome is what we get.
Yes. Yes. Burn the boats.
Burn the boats. Do you remember who said that? I've heard that. Somebody used
It's a
that
paradigm. It's
recently.
been used more than once about when
Right.
people get to a new land. It's like you can't have one foot in each. This is going to work. So if we burn the boats, you got to work. You got to make it
Right.
work.
But there was an actual captain who did that.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Yeah. What if the men don't fight? And the captain said, burn the boats there because there's no other option to do it.
Yeah. Then you have to
So
do it. And so
yeah.
how, if we really are committed, how do we do what's the, the equals burn the boats? That's an interesting thing to play with.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So I've got a great example. If I decide I need to drink more water, which was a few years ago, I made a resolution to really make it a habit to drink more water because it supports what we do, right? It supports us in our work that we do. When we have more water in our bodies, all our systems are working more effectively, and it allows us to live by heart. Because when you're dehydrated, things aren't working. There isn't the same flow, right? So there's resistance. Uh, and one thing I decided to do was bring a glass of water and a carafe to the desk I was working at. So I didn't have to necessarily get up from my desk and go to the kitchen to get myself a drink of water. I could pour myself water, and it made it easier. It was more readily
Yes.
available.
Yes. It's right there. It's,
Hmm.
it's like right there. So I want to just go like this. And I
Yes,
feel like we can do this with all the things that we choose.
it's
Like
a good
when
habit.
I'm working with people on inner tools and that help us make change on the inside, the idea is to be using them throughout our lives, not just with me or in, a little meditation time, but to use it all along. And so I'm constantly talking to people about when they're starting about putting little notes. If you put a note in the wallet and on the mirror, in the bathroom, by the bed, in the car, right? Like you can't forget because we forget. We're making new habits.
Hmm.
But we can't, when we can't forget, the habit gets made if we choose to.
Yes.
Another way to talk about it is putting it into existence, putting something on the calendar. Like if I want it to actually happen, it goes on the calendar.
And then we choose to do what's on the calendar. That's another part of the choice. So we can put it on the calendar. I can put my glass of water on my desk, but if I don't refill my carafe, then it's still an empty glass of water.
Yeah.
So there are all kinds of steps to help you succeed, and we have to start from where we're at.
Yes.
So I want to encourage everyone, if you made a resolution and it's halfway through the month now, and you find that your resolution is waning, because they do and they can, like Wendy said, we forget, or we have a different day. Oh, my bathroom is flooded, so I'm not taking my vitamins this morning because I'm trying to figure out what to do with all the water on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Life happens.
Yeah.
And what's our backup? How do
Yeah.
we get back up on the horse?
Right. It's the important part. Yeah.
Ways and means.
So I think it's probably about time for a break. So And then I would want to tell a story when we come back that is exciting to me about this theme.
Awesome. With that, let's take a short break.
Thank you, We Are Historically, for your conscious human apparel. Shop online at wearehistorically.com.
Hi, I'm Darius Wilrich. I instruct an online video course that teaches anyone how to play jazz piano like a pro with my proven step-by-step system that makes it simple to learn. Jazz Piano Pro Essentials. Enroll today at jazzpianopro.com and download my free quick start guide.
Welcome back to the Live by Heart Today show number 41, and we're discussing the power of commitment. And I'm excited to hear what Wendy has to say and the story she's going to share with us about commitment.
Yeah, so in the break, Rusty was mentioning that the burn the boats is a paradigm that was talked about in the Art of War.
Yeah.
And also Cortez used it in 1515, I believe, when he got to Mexico. And so, I had the picture that it's something that has been in the culture. And what Rusty was saying, which is so brilliant, is what we need is a commitment strategy, not an exit strategy. And in my mind, it can be easy to talk myself out of what I thought I wanted because, again, like I was saying before, I can be my worst enemy with the being able to talk logic in either direction. And I think some of us do. We are like working on our exit strategies before we're even off the horse. And so that's kind of what this story about. So almost exactly 10 years into my relationship with Michael, it's been, first of all, I want to say it's been 25 and a half years now. And I cannot believe, like I have to start believing that we can have this good a life and care about each other this much and love each other this much after so long. Like I just don't have that paradigm and I keep living it, but I'm just like, this is weird. I keep living in this is weird.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. It's like a lot. And but it's so good. And I just want to say it's so good while I tell the story, because at 10 it was not so good. It was very, very, very bad. Bad things happened. And I did not like it. And our communication broke down, and like I felt like I was trying all these things that didn't work, and I was very, very stimulated. I was very, very had a lot of feelings. And I don't need to go on too much more, but you get the picture.
Yeah.
And I got to a point where I was just like, I don't know what else to do. I think we have to break up. I was just like, this is so not working for me, and he's such a jerk, and like, I can't fix this. This is not fixable. And so it was like hanging by a thread, our relationship, it felt like to me. And then I'm just like, oh, dude, just like 5.5 years ago, I stood up in front of like 100 people I love and said, this is it. This is the relationship. Like, this is the only time I'm ever going to stand up in front of y'all and say, this is the partnership right here. And, we made some really good agreements, really good promises together that we made. And we'd had such a great time together, and we fit so together. Anyway, it was like, I was just like, what can I do? It had me think again. What can I do? Because I don't want to fail at this. Like it was because I had that line in the sand. Who knows if we'd be together if I didn't. Because I really was at the end of my rope. And then I was like, well, I can swallow my pride and contact all the people. I want to cry. Contact all the people that stood up for us. And say, we are in trouble. So I did that, and it wasn't fun at all. I did that, and honestly, that particular strategy didn't. I mean, a few people supported us in different ways, but it didn't seem to make a difference. But just that I was like asking. I really think it made a difference. And I can't believe I'm crying, but it was so intense.
Yes.
It's been 15 and some years, but it was really shitty. And I can't believe it. It's just, and like, how did we make it through? I can say a lot of nuts and bolts, but it was just grace. That's how we made it through.
Grace. Wow.
And I asked, did.
You asked
So
for
that
help,
line in
yeah.
the sand really helps when push comes to shove, I think.
Yeah, and you were faced with the question do I go back on the commitment that I made, right? Do I change this commitment that I made 10 years ago, 15 years ago?
Yeah. Yeah. So, it might be something really small or it might be something really huge, but how do we find ways to live in the direction of our dreams?
Yes.
Because we will have pushback. So how do we manage that ahead of time? And how do we manage that in the moment?
That's beautiful, because this show is about how we navigate the world we're living in.
Yeah. Yeah.
And things change. So do you renegotiate a commitment? Do you stick to the original commitment? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all
Yeah.
how
And many, many times ago, we talked about this and I was like, I'm not committed to stay in this relationship forever. I'm committed to stay in it. And you were like, I'm in forever. And I'm like, I might get a different path eventually. But like, so it's fascinating to hear the other side of it. It's like, I am committed. I just have bigger commitments than this relationship. But I'm very committed. So anyway, and it is possible to have varying commitments, and one come more important than another.
You know, our producer just read a Chinese horoscope and then a little bit of the description, and it made it sound like I'm really a homebody, right? That I would be best as a homebody. And I hear what you're saying about the commitments that you're making, and your primary commitment is bigger than your partnership commitment, right? Than your marriage commitment. And I have to say that mine is too. And so I made a commitment to get married, and I didn't actually specify, now that I think about it, I didn't specify to my then, husband to be, that my greater commitment was to God and, God and my vision and my need to express God.
Yes.
And so at what point was that made clear? I think he sees it in the kinds of things I do. Like, I'm doing this show.
Yeah.
And this is a commitment to show up and to reflect the light of godliness, right? The light of spirit to the world where it's really dark out there, and I'm still married doing it.
Yes.
So we negotiate, right?
Yeah. So we really do have the same commitment. It's just that we talk about it differently.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like for me, the very first weekend that Michael and I ever got together, I told him exactly what you said. So he's always known, and he's always, I don't think I've ever shared this. He's like, he used to do it more, but he's just like, I'm number two. I'm number two. Celebrates it. Like, not number one. Too bad. So sad.
Yeah, but what's interesting is that when it comes to all the other relationships that you have, he is number one in those relationships, human to human relationships.
Yeah, with other people. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, although because of how we do it and freedom is a value for us, it like almost never becomes I never have to choose.
Right? Isn't that beautiful?
I never have to choose. There's times he hasn't liked my choices, but he's not going to stop me.
Right. And you work it out.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much,
Awesome.
Wendy.
Thank
Is there
you. I
anything
hope
else you'd like to
everybody
talk
really,
about?
I hope everybody really, found something for themselves in this, and I hope you all are inspired to live your life according to your choices.
Draw a line in the sand somewhere for yourself, and then if it needs to change, draw another line.
Yeah, Landmark says, throw your hat over the wall, and then you have to go get it.
Yeah. And you get to choose which wall you throw it over.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone who is watching today. We'd love to hear from you. And if our conversation spoke to you, please tell us what's on your heart by leaving us a comment below. For more information about how you can live by heart, please go to our website, livebyhearttoday.com. Like and follow this page and turn on notifications so you don't miss our program. We're here every week on Thursday at 4:44 Pacific time. It is from our heart to yours. We're creating a better tomorrow because we live by heart today.
And that concludes this portion of
Live by Heart Today!
Thank you for watching. View more episodes on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's give a shout out to our sponsors. Shop online at wearehistorically.com. Conscious Human Apparel.
Hi, I'm Darius Wilrich. I'll teach you everything you need to know about playing jazz piano like a pro with my 12-week online video course and downloadable guidebook, Jazz Piano Pro Essentials. Enroll today at jazzpianopro.com.
Have a happy